Welcome to Mampara of the Day, and today we're looking at PetroSA, South Africa's state-owned oil company. And PetroSA has got an incredibly unique business model, a way of being able to print money out of thin air, and I'll get to that in just a little moment. But before we get to there, let's have a look at the degree to which PetroSA has been making losses every single year. For instance, this year, thumbs up to PetroSA, they only made a 449 million rand loss, which is an improvement on the previous year's 15 billion rand loss. And where does PetroSA lose most of its money? PetroSA hemorrhages most of its money through the Mosgas project. And one of the reasons why it's been hemorrhaging so much money lately through the Mosgas project is, firstly, that they've been having many production outages thanks to an unsteady supply of power from Eskom. So the Eskom power supply issues caused outages, and then it takes up to a week to get production back up and running. So that's number one. Number two, with the declining oil price, obviously the amount of money that PetroSA has been getting for their gas has been in decline as well. So I've got no idea why, with the lower oil prices, why PetroSA didn't simply scale back production drastically at Mosgas and bring down those production costs in order to be able to save money. Because here's the key issue: where does PetroSA make most of its money? If it's not making money from Mosgas, as we know, it's making monumental losses from Mosgas, then where is it making its money? Because in this last financial year, the Mosgas caused how much was it? Let me just get the figure here. It caused a 12 billion rand impairment to the PetroSA income statement. So if 12 billion was the impairment from Mosgas and they only made a loss of 449 million, then where did the other money come in from? And this is the genius behind PetroSA. The government has instructed the cartel of oil companies in South Africa, the cartel of commercial oil companies in South Africa, that X percentage, and if memory serves me correct, I think it's 50% of all fuel that any oil company any commercial oil company in South Africa purchases must come from a black-owned enterprise. And the only wholly black-owned oil company in South Africa is PetroSA. So that means that if Shell, BP, Engen, Total want to buy in fuel from overseas, it has to come via PetroSA. So what these oil companies do is they need the fuel desperately. They can't wait for PetroSA to order the fuel and then supply it onto them, because logistically, it's just around and adds too much of a logistical nightmare onto the whole process. So what an oil company like, say for instance, Shell would do. Shell needs, say 10 million liters of high-grade diesel for their diesel pumps. So what Shell will do is they'll source the high-grade diesel from the best place they can possibly source it from in the international market and get the diesel shipped to South Africa. Then when the diesel arrives in South Africa, Shell takes delivery and sends that diesel through to their fuel pumps, where you'll be able to fill up your diesel vehicle and be off and on your merry way. But the paper trail works slightly differently. because of the fact that Shell needs to be buying, for argument's sake, let's take 50% figure, 50% of their diesel from a black-owned company. They've just brought in all of these 10 million litres of diesel directly, for argument's sake, from Venezuela. So now what Shell will then do is they'll take that 10 million litres at the price that they paid Venezuela for that diesel. They sell that 10 million litres of diesel to PetroSA. So they make out an invoice to PetroSA for the 10 million litres of diesel. PetroSA receives this invoice, sees what the price tag is on that, adds, for argument's sake, 15%, 20%, so let's say 20%. The PetroSA then receives the invoice, adds 20% onto that invoice, and invoices Shell for the same diesel but for 20% more expensive. Shell receives the invoice, deducts the two invoices off each other. In other words, it just leaves PetroSA's profit figure and pays PetroSA that 20% figure. So in other words, all PetroSA does is they sit in one little office, they receive an invoice from Shell, add 20%, send their invoice out to Shell. A couple of weeks later, they receive the money, the balance between those two invoices. Next, they receive a similar thing from a similar invoice from Engen, a similar invoice from Total, a similar invoice from BP, and so every week, every month, PetroSA receives invoices from the petro companies, issues their own invoices, and cashes out the difference. That's how PetroSA makes most of its money. And yet, they are now going hat in hand to government to beg for more money because they can't make ends meet, even when operating such an awesome scam that costs almost zero money. You need to pay one bookkeeper to be able to maintain this invoice for invoice scam that they've got going on with the fuel company cartel. And what does this effectively do? It helps keep your fuel prices at a elevated level so that PetroSA can fund its Mossel Bay operation. So for that reason, PetroSA earns our award for Mampara of the Day. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of PetroSA and their Mamparadom status for today. Also, thumbs up if you believe that this is a worthy Mampara status award. And remember that any comments, questions, criticisms, go down below. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button as well. And last but by no means least, until you and I meet again, try not to get yourselves lost or killed, and I will see you tomorrow.